Colin Mashawana, had positioned himself within the IDT to get those tenders. So basically, they were offering you the same thing that Colin is already allegedly benefiting from. Let's dive into that a little bit.
We now reveal and we introduce into this saga the Gauteng businessman Colin Mashawana, who runs that organization, the Colin Mashawana Foundation, and who has a massive following. I mean, he's got 1.5 million followers on Instagram as a start, and he uses these platforms to really advocate or to present himself as a person who's involved in important charity work,
philanthropist,
because he's making so much money. He's a philanthropist. That's the term right there. And what his article now does, it really casts a shadow of doubt over those charitable intentions, because we now go into detail into a IDT, expanded public works program initiative, where Mashawana, his organization, got a 60 million rand contract to do EPWP work on behalf of almost 2,000 jobless South Africans who don't have work at the moment. And instead of paying them, they frequently shortchanged them or didn't pay them any money at all. And then at the same time, he's also then channeling money into Malaka's property at the Waterfall Country Estate. And now we begin to wonder, are the missing EPWP funds being channeled into this upmarket property in Waterfall Country Estate?
So in doing that, Peter, I think let's draw a timeline then from when Colin Mashawana gets this contract, 60 million rand from the IDT, to when this building project in Waterfall begins, and the flow of the money then, if it is linked. How do you pull it all together?
So the timeline is pretty tight if you look at it, as a whole. The contract is awarded in mid last year, in 2024. But shortly before the IDT actually awards what is by far the biggest chunk of this EPWP spend, Colin Mashawana pays 100,000 rand, roughly 100,000 rand, towards Malaka's property development, towards one of the service providers who are working on the property. So there's first that payment, and then very soon after that, Mashawana is appointed by the IDT to do by far the most lucrative part of that EPWP work. Then, we go down the line the following year, after the money has started flowing to the EPWP, to the Colin Mashawana Foundation for this EPWP work. Then Mashawana makes another payment of roughly the same amount. And these are just kind of some of the kernels. There are other payments from a contractor who's also working on the Waterfall plot, who pays for things like a construction container and certain piping that has to be installed on the plot, etc. And these payments, our records at this moment show, continuously and frequently happen right after the Colin Mashawana Foundation gets money from the Independent Development Trust. And in the meantime, the EPWP workers themselves on the ground are not getting
paid. This is what upsets me, guys. With all of this money flying around, can you at least pay the most vulnerable part of society? They don't have a person that can siphon 60,000 rand to them across the table. They don't have people who can just give them 100 million rand contract. At least do the work. And what is upsetting about Colin Mashawana is you want to be considered as a good person. The very first thing about being a good person is paying people their salaries.
Yeah, we're using this acronym, right? EPW, whatever. It's the Expanded Works Program. These are people that you see next to the road picking up litter, people who are cleaning clinics.